Today I'm going to show you how to make low-carb pigs in a blanket. Here again, guys. Today I'm going to make something that I have been wanting to make for about 2 to 3 weeks ever since I seen the recipe for this. We are going to make pigs in a blanket, but they're going to be low carb, which is awesome. So what's going to form the dough for these is basically the same recipe we use as for our fathead pizza, which is really good if you haven't tried it yet. But let's see what ingredients we're going to use today. We are going to need 1 3/4 cup of mozzarella cheese. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. We're going to need 3/4 cup of almond flour, 1 egg. The recipe calls for 2 packages of hot dogs. I am going to use 1 package of hot dogs, and then we had a package of these pork jalapeno cheddar bratwurst that I'm going to use. I really wanted to get the hot dogs that have the cheese inside of them, but when we went and got groceries yesterday, the only ones they had are just the regular hot dogs, which are going to be fine, but I'm most excited to use these cheddar bratwursts and see how they come out. So let me get everything measured out and we'll get to making these. Alright guys, so I have everything measured out and ready to go. First thing we're going to do is make our dough. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 1 3/4 cup of mozzarella. We have our 3/4 cup of almond flour. We're just going to pour all of this into the bowl, and I have 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. Now this is a little bit different than the dough I make for the fathead pizza. Usually with the fathead pizza, I melt the cheese and everything and then add the almond flour, but with this recipe, we're putting the almond flour in before we melt it. So we'll see how it turns out. I still think it's gonna be delicious. Once you have those 3 ingredients, we're gonna stick this in the microwave for 1 minute. While that's cooking, can we take a minute to appreciate my new salt lamp I just got? I have been looking for a salt lamp forever. I've been wanting one forever, and I finally found one that's small enough to fit in the truck. Perfect. I found it at Natural Grocers, by the way, and it wasn't very expensive. It was like 15 bucks, so I'm pretty excited about that. Our 1 minute is up, so we're going to remove this from the microwave, and we're just going to stir everything together until it gets good and mixed and blended all together. You can see how that's kind of forming a dough mixture. Now it looks like that almond flour is getting nice and mixed in, so looks like it's going to be awesome. I've got that mixed up. I'm going to add my 1 egg, and we're going to stir that in with our dough mixture. Just mix that in, get it all well blended. When it's all good and blended, it's going to form a dough, and that's what you want. And that's what we're going to roll out and we're going to use to wrap around our hot dogs. So our dough is all ready to go. The next step we're going to do is we're going to roll this out into a rectangle. So what I'm going to do, I have some parchment paper. I just use these Reynolds parchment paper. They come in squares. And I don't really have a big rectangle baking pan to do this on, so I'm just going to do it here on my cutting board. I'm going to lay a piece of parchment paper down. I did let the dough cool for about 3 to 4 minutes before handling it. So as you see, it's kind of a nice dough form. I'm going to plop that down right in the center of my parchment paper. I'm going to take another sheet of parchment paper and I'm going to place that right on top. Now, I don't have a rolling pin in the truck, so what I do is I just use my can of coconut oil as a makeshift rolling pin. So we're just going to roll this out kind of into a rectangular shape the best that you can. And I just kind of smooth it out. And it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. We know that things still taste good even if they don't look perfect. I'm gonna kind of press it with my hands too here. Kind of get it out.
Humps measure level.
Yeah. And you don't want it too thin, but you don't want it real thick either. So we're just gonna do best we can with what we got.
That looks like an oval.
Yeah. Again, I know it's not gonna be a perfect rectangle, but that's okay. Hey guys, I've got our dough all rolled out. It's not exactly a rectangle shape, but it's pretty close. So I'm gonna just remove this top parchment paper. I wanted to just show you the parchment paper I use. It's this Reynolds. It comes in these little sheets. They're like this, and they fold out into rectangles. You can use any parchment paper you like. I just like these because they're pretty much the perfect size for everything. And when I use our pizza pan, I just cut it down to fit the roundness of the pizza pan. So what I've done, I've already taken our hot dogs and sausages out of the package so that they're ready to go. I have my pizza pan lined with another piece of parchment paper. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take a pizza cutter and we're gonna cut slices of our dough to wrap around our hot dogs and sausages. We wanna do about a 1/2 inch strip for each one. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it and do strips all the way down our pizza dough. And if some are thicker than others, that's okay because we're gonna wrap them around. As long as we have enough to cover the hot dogs and the sausages, I think we'll be good. All right guys, so I've got our strips cut into our dough. Our next step is we're gonna take our dough and wrap them around our hot dogs and sausages. Now, I will probably have to cook these in 2 batches just because I don't think they're all gonna fit on this pan. I do have my oven preheating to 350 degrees right now. So we're gonna cook these at 350 for about 20 minutes, but let's wrap our dogs. So what I've noticed trying to do these sausages, I'm gonna use 2 strips per sausage. I just feel like the 1/2 inch is not quite big enough for these. So you wanna be careful because your dough will kind of come apart if you're not careful. So I'm just kind of setting the dog down, get it started, and twisting it around the sausage. So it kind of gets a nice and even coverage. And as you're doing this, the recipe suggests to try to not get your hands too wet from your sausages or your hot dog. So I'm just kind of wiping my hands as I do each one. And again, these don't have to be perfect because they're all gonna go in our tummy anyway. I'm gonna get the rest of these rolled up and we'll see how they look like before we pop them in the oven. As I've got all of our sausages and dogs rolled up with dough, I was able to fit everything onto the pan. Now, if you were using 2 packages of hot dogs like it calls for, I don't think it would fit on this size pan. Maybe, but I will say it was a little hard getting them wrapped. The hot dogs were a little bit easier just because they were smaller and I could roll them, but they don't look bad, I don't think. I'm really excited. So we are gonna pop these in the oven. Our oven is preheated. Like I said, you want it at 350. We're gonna put these in for 20 minutes. And basically you're gonna cook them until the crust is golden brown. So we'll check them in 20 minutes and see how they look. All right guys, so our pigs in the blanket are done. We actually already tried them and they are delicious. What would you say, babe?
They're scrumptious.
So have a look at how they turned out. They're so good. Look at that, nice and browned. These ones got a little bit more overdone, but that's okay. It just makes them a little bit crispy on the dough. So yeah guys, this is something we'll definitely make again. I hope you all like the video. This is an easy low carb meal that you can make that doesn't take a lot of effort. I will leave the recipe linked in the description box down below, so if you want to try it, you can check that out. If you do try it, come back and let me know how you liked it, or if you're gonna try it, let me know as well. I always love to hear y'all's thoughts. Thank you as always for watching and subscribing.
Until our next video.
Peace, love, and expediting.
Oh, yeah.
The dough that we're gonna make for these is the same.
Blooper.